Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Press Talk Sports Live. Season 4, the YouTube era has officially began. I am your host, Jeff Weisinger, sports editor here at the Brentwood Press. Joining me today is a very awesome guest. He has taken the immense task of building back Deer Valley. A very awesome guest. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to waste any time. Marcus Malu, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being the first video guest we have on this podcast. Thank you for being the guinea pig for this experiment, pretty much. How you doing?
I'm good.
Let's start with this. Deer Valley, man, that is take me through it, because first off, congratulations.
Thank you.
Again,
Thank you.
This is your first varsity head coaching job, right?
Yes.
So just take me through kind of getting this point, because you were on the JV staff last year, right?
Yes, I was. I was the head coach of the JV last year.
So just take me through, was that your first year as the JV head coach?
Yes, for Deer Valley.
Yeah.
Yes, I was.
So we'll talk about just kind of 1 year as a JV coach and you getting top job pretty much. Talk about this has to be a whirlwind for you a little bit.
Yes and no. I think, I've been working behind the scenes with my business, right? Malu Fitness, but also the youth. And so just been working. So I've been around a lot of the roles of, being a leader, but a little different moving into the high school. But, it's just the title, right? The title, but still working. If there's something that there's in common that we have in common right now with what I'm stepping into, it's just another level of learning a lot of more things that I feel like I need to learn.
You're a big social media guy. When you announced you got the job, I think that's how I found out that you got the Deer Valley job, officially got it. How much did your Instagram or your socials explode with everyone just kind of reaching out, congratulating, stuff like that?
It went bananas.
Did you expect that kind of response?
Yes, only because I feel like the community was the one that went to bat for me. Mm-hmm. The parents from DV, the parents from Antioch, a lot of people went to bat for me. Mm-hmm. And I felt like it was the community spoke, and it's an honor.
Even more so when I think you told me this story before, when the mayor calls you in the morning to congratulate you on the job you didn't even know you got yet. That doesn't happen often. Let me tell you something. When I coached at Logan, no city officials called me. They didn't know, but you had, what was it, the principal of school? I remember the photo you posted.
It was Rob Burnell,
right,
and Principal Veronica McLean.
Just talk about just having that support, because I feel like when in the last couple of years talking to Matt, at least, I feel like he didn't feel like he had the full support of the school, or the district for that matter, right? And you're coming in, and this is no slight, don't get me wrong, I don't mean this to be any slight, but I feel like, and you're coming in, you have the support of the new mayor and the principal of the school. I feel like you have a lot more support behind you compared to the previous staff. I'm just kind of curious, not from his point of view, but what was it like to have? What's it like for you to have that kind of support from day one?
It's a blessing. It's a blessing, but it goes back to building relationships, right? Even though it's my first gig as head coach, I go back to, like I said, I've been in the community for a long time, and I think brick by brick, and I had to learn certain things, and like I always tell my trainers and even coaches, don't be such in a rush to go and get that seat, right? Because that seat comes with a lot.
Right.
And so, I felt like the last maybe 10, 15 years, just brick by brick, learning certain things, learning how to do certain things, practice plan, dealing with parents, just communicating with other coaches, learning to have that relationship with other coaches, even though we're on the field of just very competitive, right? And, we're all competitive, and, coaches, they're just like players. It's kind of like almost kind of telling people, hey, I respect you, but at the same time, I'm still trying to beat you.
Right.
So it's a blessing. I'm truly blessed that I have the support of the principal, admin, but also the mayor, the brand new mayor. I think our city is going through a change, and I think I'm just honored to be part of that change from the high school level.
You mentioned don't be such a rush, because there's a lot that comes with this job. you and I talked the past couple of days, and you're telling me everything that's been coming with the job so far. How, what has just talk about like just like what has been the toughest part for you, the toughest adjustment for you compared to like compared to you coaching before, not just JVs but also Palu, also
Yep.
Paula, like the 7-on-7 team. Talk about just what the biggest adjustment coming from those teams now to DV.
Um, just having to deal with making sure that you cover not only your X's and O's, right, but covering paperwork,
Mhm.
right, the do's and the don'ts, right, the laws and rules that you got to abide by, what you can do and what you can't do,
Mhm.
right, and then not only there's that, knowing that you have to deal with a school with kids that they're going through some things,
Right.
and so with the youth and everything else, it's not like I get to see you, but high school, this is like, oh, I get to see you,
Right.
because everything comes back to either the head coach or the admin,
Right.
whether we're doing what we're supposed to be doing.
You mentioned seeing the kids on campus for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Deer Valley's perception from the outside, and I can't say I can't say as much on campus. Even though I only helped out for like a month, but Deer Valley's perception on the outside, from Brentwood, Oakley, which I find ironic from Oakley, um, you know, it doesn't have the greatest perception per se, right? When I first got here, I had my staff here telling me about a lot about Deer Valley and Deer Valley's this, Deer Valley's that. One of our old social media managers, she went to Deer Valley, so she told me stuff from the inside, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like it's one went to Heritage, one went to Liberty. Oh, Deer Valley this. One actually went to Deer Valley and told me about it. You mentioned talking about the kids, and seeing them.
Yeah.
How do you Deer Valley's biggest issue? Deer Valley football's biggest issue, I should say, has been is not exactly the talent on the field, because there's talent on that team.
Yeah.
But it's them getting caught up in everything about the school. It's the school's. I feel like it's the school's culture. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but the school culture does affect the foot. I feel like it's the school culture affecting the football team, and I'm kind of curious. Now that you're around the kids a lot more, not that because you're not on campus like that, right?
I get to be on campus just with my schedule. It
Okay.
allows me to be, so I pop
But as
up
far
with
as
my
like
kids.
right, but as far as like being like, but you're not like considered like on campus faculty in that regard, right? Okay. So on a technicality, you're off campus coach.
Yeah.
Seeing them on campus and kind of getting them away from, or helping rebuild the culture. As I feel like with this job, it's not just rebuilding the football culture per se, but it's helping rebuild the school culture through football. I mean, am I wrong? And am I kind of
No,
in the right direction?
You're right on there, because it goes back to social media, right? Social media, like it pretty much gives you a platform, and I think with all the kids that I've dealt with, it has given me a platform with these kids. So I think that's something that, changing the culture, you have to understand. You got to be a father first for a lot of these kids. The football thing is easy.
Right.
But having to be a father first, just making sure, hey, like this morning, I sent the guys, I said, hey, hope all is well with y'all this morning. I want y'all to have a great day. Oh, yeah, and just remember, you being in the hallways lets me know you like being on the sidelines.
I like that quote.
I love y'all.
I like that quote.
I said, so those are the things, and all those kids, because I have a thread with all of them, and they're like, yes, coach, and, a lot of them just says thumbs up or love or hearts, but, a lot of those kids, I have to think every day, like, hey, kind of like my kids, I tell them all the time, hey, love y'all, right, love you. I try to think, how many of these kids don't get that?
Right.
It's like, even the littlest things, because to me, I'm building a relationship with them. And they asked me last night, they're like, coach, so we trying to like just figure it out this year? I said, listen to me. We're trying to figure it out and win.
Right.
Right? And we can do that. All we have to do is just like going in class. Right? If you want your grades to improve, you got to go to class, and then you got to listen, and then you got to make adjustments. I said, that's just like football. Come to practice, you get yelled at for something, make adjustments.
Right.
Right? But also, my biggest thing for them, letting them know, because yesterday I popped up with Simba Webster. I had to call out the alumni. Hey, man, you gotta stop by, right? Come by, let's sit in the AD room.
He's been by a little bit. I remember
Yeah.
like at the home opener last day, he was like they were there.
Yeah, you know, but I just wanted him to have, you know, him and the other guys to be able to have a presence
Right.
on the school campus. Even like, and I'm gonna probably reach out to Taiwan Jones and Big George, right? But it's just guys like that.
I'm not gonna lie, if you bring Taiwan Jones to campus, I may fanboy a little bit. He was like one of my favorite players in the league. He really was one of my favorite players, especially when he was with the Raiders. He was awesome to watch.
Yeah.
You mentioned the alumni. I want to kind of harp on the alumni a little bit. One thing I've noticed a lot of schools don't do, and this is something I think, and I'll speak to my experience at Logan, where when Ricky Rodriguez was the head coach and White interviewed, one of his biggest goals was getting the alumni back involved, right? And I remember that 2019 season, like, obviously he brought me being an alumni got me the job, because I'll be honest with you, I had no business getting hired by them.
Right.
It was like, it was Darren American. I had Darren American were offering, were inviting me on, and so I mean, I wasn't going to American. Let's just be real. I got friends that coach at Americans. So I'm trying to be really cordial with this, but I wasn't going to American. There were very few schools I would go outside. Mainly because like I feel as alumni for me to go anywhere else. I understand the business, but the one thing that his biggest thing was bringing back the alumni, having the alumni involved. So, like there's a night we have a football alumni association, so a lot of old heads were there. Obviously, me being a JV coach, I was there. Roy Williams, the former Cowboy safety, one of our most successful players. He was there. Jackie Crooks was there. So it's kind of cool seeing. It was kind of cool having all that. When I came here, I feel like we're starting to kind of get that a little bit. I know Freedom's kind of doing that, especially now with Steven as the head coach. Seeing you guys do it is actually really cool. How big is it, from your point of view, in general, to have your football alumni, whether it's from the Simba Websters to, you know, maybe just guys who were there who just played and went on, you know.
Yeah.
How big is it for your mind to have them involved, especially for this generation of kids?
Well, it takes a village, you know, and I think it's big because, you know, you have to pay homage to them and let them understand that, hey, look, in order for us to build this back to where you guys had it and left off,
right?
We need you. We need your presence to be around here, right? Because just having their names and knowing that they're supporting, you know, it's not only big for our kids, but also for the coaching staff and also the admin, you know, because our principal, I think this is her second year.
Okay.
Right. So it's we're all trying to build this, and I think we have to reach out to all those that was there before us to make sure that, hey, look, we need y'all.
To bring back the players, though, who, forget just making the league, the players who did it, who helped this program win and knew what it took, how big is having that wisdom from them? Like, you know, not to say back in day we did it like this, but, like, things to consider, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's big. It's big because, you know, Simba's still playing.
Right.
You know, I think George is still playing. I'm not sure if Taiwan's still playing, but, you know, I know.
I think Taiwan retired.
Yeah.
So
it's just having their presence because it's Antioch.
Right.
You know, like Antioch needs to help Antioch. You know, and that's the biggest thing I think. You know, I'm a community guy. You know, didn't grow up in Antioch, but, you know, this is where it started all for me.
Let me ask you, for those who may not know much about Antioch, like for me, like I, you know, being from New York City and when I moved here, being in Union City, being in East Bay. When I was talking to her, I interviewed Mayor Lamar Hernandez, a former mayor, Lamar Hernandez Thorpe, the other day, and the one thing he told me was Antioch has not an identity crisis, but it's trying to find itself. The city is trying to find itself. I remember when Najee was at Yacht, and you know, he kind of helped personify a little bit of the city. How big are, not just Antioch, but how big is it to have both football programs in Antioch successful? How much does that help define the city? And I ask that more because, like, you know, you go to some places, like, for example, Union City's Logan. Granted, it's only high school, right? Here is Liberty. No, Brentwood is Liberty Heritage, right? Every city, like the high school football teams, I feel have such a big influence on the character of the city and like what that city means. Like you look at, you know, I'm not going to include I'm not going to include the private schools in this because that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
We look at the public, like Pittsburgh, for example.
Yeah.
That city is Pittsburgh football,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
How big, and from a coach's point of view, how big is it? Especially how big is it more for you guys to kind of get back on track to you guys in Antioch and guys kind of really help not just build the cultures but also help rebuild the city in a sense.
I think for both schools to get back to where we need to get back, it's going to help the city because it'll overflow the light that is going to shine on the city. So much negativity has been shined on Antioch, right? But at the same time, if you ask a lot of the people around here, Antioch is rich in talent.
Oh yeah, no, we've seen it.
Rich in talent,
right?
And so, but at the same time, I feel like we gotta help the new generation of kids. We can't be the old heads just stuck on, oh, this is the way we gotta do it. Nah, because right now we gotta bring back, just a lot of light back to the Mayor's Cup. We gotta, we cheer for Antioch. Not necessarily just for one school, but we cheer for Antioch.
For the city.
Just for the city.
I think people don't realize there is the one thing I've kind of picked up on times I've, been at Deer Valley, even the 1 month I helped out there or whatever. The one thing that I think a lot of people don't realize, there's a lot of pride in Antioch.
Yes, there is.
And it's interesting because, I remember when I first moved here, to Union City in '98. God, '98 feels like forever ago at this point. That is pre social media days, man. When I first moved here, I remember how much pride there was in the Bay Area, let alone Union City, right? And I remember being from New York. Obviously, the nation knows how much pride we have in New York, right? But I don't want to say there was a clash, but there was like a friendly clash, kind of like, no one cares about. I come here, no one cares about New York. It's about the Bay. It's about the Bay.
Right.
And being in Antioch, you kind of feel that sense of pride again.
Yeah.
And it's something I felt like the Bay Area was kind of losing a little bit in the 2010s.
Yeah.
That sense of, it's just the Bay Area. Well, I'm here from Michigan. I'm here from this state. All the transplants, right? The transplants ruin everything. Like, I say this as a transplant. We ruin everything. But it's kind of cool, and it's interesting seeing like how much pride there is in the city, but like in the city against that negative light, and I'm excited. Like Antioch football gets everything going again. You guys get everything going again. I feel like it's gonna really, in ways, unite the city. You'll have the rivalry, obviously, but like it will just revive the city in ways that I feel the city's kind of needed.
Yeah, I think we need that.
Getting onto the field, I know we talked about Simple Webster and the alumni and such. You have some good ballers coming back. I'll start with your quarterback, Adrian Masson. Just talk about, I saw some 7-on-7 clips with him. Just talk about just his kind of growth. Last year was his first year as a starter. And had kind of his growth kind of from last year going into this offseason.
He's been working, and
he got a little bigger.
Yes, he did. He hit a growth spurt.
Finally.
He hit a growth spurt. And strong arm, very smart kid. But just like any other kid, wants to hit the home run every play. Right. So we just been working this whole offseason on not only getting stronger, but getting mental reps, helping him with his reads, understanding you got to take what defense gives you. Right. Trust your teammates. Get the ball out. Not every play has to be the big play. Right. First down, second down. Down in distance and what the defense is running and things like that. And the first day I was with him, I just kind of looked at him. I said, "Man, you lucky you not my son." Yeah.
If I told you how often I told my quarterbacks room that, Logan, my 3 quarterbacks, I said, if y'all were my kids.
And so, my son, too, he's a quarterback. So, the relationship is different. And I also, I feel like just being around him and watching his whole growth allowed me to prepare for
this.
Right? Because it's having to build him, right? Like, there's a saying that I always tell, and I think I told you this, you don't have to tell a crackhead he's a crackhead. Right? Like, we understand. Like, the kids understand what happened last year.
Right.
You don't need to dwell on that.
Right.
We just got to fix what we need to fix and then build their confidence. And that's one of the biggest things was having to be firm, but yet be caring enough to build them. Like, look, are you blind? Did you not see all of
Everything.
Brentwood that was over there on that receiver, right? And he's just like, okay, coach, right? And it's like, even getting on him, I had to change my ways of getting on the kids,
Right.
right? Like saying certain things like that instead of being like the old head coach
Did you not
that we
see
had.
all of Brentwood?
Did you not see all of Brentwood covering Jalen?
I'm glad you and I
know?
coach very similar.
So, but and so it's been a learning curve for not only him but also for myself to be
Right.
his coach.
Right.
Because when he gets going, the offense is going to get going.
Right. You mentioned adjusting your coaching style. I think that's the one thing when you look at a lot of coaches. It's the hardest thing to do. I think people don't realize because we came up in a different time in the game, right? Like coaches yelled, coaches coach. Like
Yes.
it was a lot. I won't say strict. It was a lot more aggressive. I think maybe back in this back in day, right?
Yes.
Now, now you have to be different with the kids nowadays, for so many reasons. You just off the field, right?
Yes.
What was the light bulb moment for you when you knew, when it was like, okay, I need it, or like what sparked it? So I'll say for me it was watching.
I'm gonna share my walk.
Okay.
Right, because to me, just chasing Christ, there's certain requirements that comes with His instructions.
Right.
Right. So the instructions that He gives me in His Word is that tongue that you use for blessings cannot be used for cursing.
Right.
And I take that like very hard, only because with these kids, I understood I cannot be that coach that I had.
Right.
Now I have to change my way of approaching them. I have to be firm, right? But I also understand, like, they're different.
Right.
The kids are different now. Mental health is big now, right? And you have to be aware of what the kids are going through at home, right? We coach hard, but at the same time, before they leave, hey, look, as a coach, I already told you what you need to work on. Now I'm speaking to you as a father. Leave it here.
Right.
Don't take it home. Right. The great thing about sports and football, we have another day to come back.
Right.
Either you pick up where you left off, or start something new.
It's that whole idea of don't bring your work home with you.
No, don't.
Say. Right.
No, because these kids don't need to go home, and it's football.
Right.
It's football, and I think a lot of us adults and people around, like, we fail, and parents, we fail to realize, like, we're asking a 9-year-old to be better.
Right.
And yet we watch the game where some of these high athletes make the same mistakes.
Right.
And they're pros.
Right.
Give them grace.
You're aware of when a player drops the ball because of what happened with Mark Andrews, early in the playoffs. Just saying.
Hey, look, listen. You can get mad at him all you want, but guess what? He got to go home to a house that is beautiful.
Mm-hmm. People forget. People. One thing I will say one time. One thing I've learned through my, I think it was 09, so 16 years sports writing off and on, especially majority of it coming to pros, like, what people forget is that these people are, a lot of the pro athletes, they're people at the end of the day. And I'll say, I remember two years ago, when I came back from Texas, I was covering the Giants for a site I freelanced for, and they played, I think they won, and on Sundays, it's like a family day, right? So
Yeah.
the Giants. So they have the game, and then like after the game, in left field, you have all the kids come out, all the players and families, and they'll have like a whole like just playing on the field, stuff like that. I'm leaving, so I was walking. That was Mike Yastrzemski and his family. It was like him. His daughter was like 2, so she was in a stroller. It was his wife, I think, and then like his father-in-law, whatever. And I was walking out with them, and it's funny because I'm thinking about like, yo, this guy's like the right fielder for the San Francisco Giants, and he's pushed, he's with his family like anyone else would be, right? And I've seen this before with several other athletes, but people forget, like, at the end of the day, like,
they're people.
They're people too, like, pro athletes are people at the end of the day, right? High school athletes are still kids at the end of the day, and I think once you kind of find a way to separate the two, okay, here's what he did on the field, off the field, like, for example, with Jalen, right?
Yep.
Great athlete on the field.
Yep.
He has a couple schools looking at him already.
Yep.
Off the field, he's still Jalen.
Still Jalen.
Right? And I think it's so weird because especially like during the season, those get blurred.
Yeah.
Those lines get blurred, and it's kind of. I think the way you're kind of going about it is kind of it reminds it just makes me think so much of that. Like you gotta be able to separate work from home,
and you gotta build a relationship with these kids.
right?
You know, like even just when you fix something, not about football, just like a miscommunication, forgot to text or didn't show up for something, was late for something. Like you still gotta remember, at that age you were doing the same thing,
Right.
right? And the only thing that I think we bring to the table, having to give that game to these youngins, is we didn't have that.
Right.
Right? Like I tell them all the time, I said, I didn't have a Coach Samu or a Coach Maury, right? And I didn't have a Coach Malu. Like, we didn't.
Right.
So a lot of the mistakes that we were making, nobody was fixing.
Right.
And sometimes, you know, like I tell the kids, I said, you got to get what you need to get out of football.
Right.
Get that free education. Give you an opportunity to go and see outside of Antioch. Because football is going to get everything out of you.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. Very much so.
You know?
Let me ask you about the others. Speaking of Jalen, speaking of JSF, a couple schools looking at him ready to have a receiver like that coming back. Just how big is that for you guys?
It's big, but you know, Jay is good, and we have a few kids like even Santiago. You know, he's going to be a factor. You know, Nias is going to be a factor. KJ, you know, one of our kids, I think he was a sophomore this year that was playing on varsity. He's going to be a factor. We have a lot of young kids, and, you know, Maurice Johnson, right? He played JV last year. He's going to be, you know, helping out big time this year. You know, there's a lot of guys, and even our line, you know, we got some good group of kids. You know?
I was going to say line's been a big concern for the team the last couple of years, just depth wise.
Yeah.
Like, do you just talk about the numbers? It's from what I've heard, the numbers are kind of getting back to what they should be for the line and such.
We're gonna be good.
Okay.
Right? We're gonna be good. Can't really give everything out on this podcast
Of course,
because you know don't know who
people
gonna be watching.
People are scouting,
right? So but I think we're gonna be good. You know, I think there's a buzz on campus. You know, there's a buzz in our city, and I think, you know, like I told, you know, some of my coaches, buzz is one thing. Capitalizing on the buzz is another. And all that means is we got to be very efficient with the time that we have, and then we got to be able to make sure that these kids are ready.
What I'm curious, when we talk about Adrian and Jalen, last year on home opener, the first play, he went deep. So could we expect something similar? Because I feel like that was Adrian, and Adrian just told Mills, I'm throwing it a country mile on the first play.
That's still yet to be determined, right? Because the last thing I need to do is for him to throw a pick and then it's backfires.
It's back.
You know, so you know it's. I remember that play.
Let me ask you. With that said, though, let me ask you: to have a quarterback, as a quarterback biased person, obviously, to have a quarterback who, in his first start, on his first play, just slinging it. You know, talk about the mindset for Adrian. Because I feel like he's not. You know, I know it was him and Santiago kind of rotating quarterback, especially the second half of last year. Talk about when you have a quarterback who isn't as, who didn't at the time didn't seem as dynamic compared to Santiago, right? To him just not be afraid to be fearless like that. He reminded me a lot of, in a weird way, he reminded me a lot of like an Eli Manning. You know, where like you don't think this guy's gonna do much, and then like Eli went on to win 2 Super Bowls, not about to be in the Hall of Fame, and had some of the biggest throws in NFL history.
Yeah.
And I feel like Adrian has that. Not saying he's like Eli. I'm not saying he's like Eli, but he has a little bit of that aura around him. It's like a very quiet, leads by example kind of guy. You know, just kind of goes out there and just plays.
He really is very calm.
Right.
Right. Almost too calm. Like sometimes I have to ask him like, "You all right, bro?" Right. Like I have to like. In the morning, hey, did you sleep last night? Yeah, coach, I did. He's just laid back, right? And right now, I told him, I said, right now, I'm going to give you the quiet, right? But hopefully we get to the other part where I can finish giving you that nickname.
Right.
So right now, we're the quiet, you know, because I feel like he's going to end up being, he's going to have a good year this year. You know, as long as he puts in the time in the weight room, time on watching film and time on his craft and working on certain things, I feel like he's going to end up being the quiet assassin for us.
Okay. You guys are working on your schedule so far. Who you guys opening against?
Novato.
Okay.
We are at home against Novato right now. That is the games that when I got the schedule from, Mills had it up, set it up where we have Novato at home, and then we have Berkeley week 2 at home.
So back to back at home.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I'm trying to find now 2 more games to add on to our schedule to be able to have it set.
So there's a school in Union City called James Logan. If you guys want to, if you need an option.
Is Eric Washington over there?
Them days on. He should be, to be honest with you, but let me ask you because I guess while I have you here, the schedule part, I think non-conference, right? When people look at, it's interesting because like especially last year, talk with everyone about the non-conference schedules, right? Liberty went on the revenge tour because of what happened with them the year before. I know Coach Mills tried to kind of balance it out a little bit non-conference before, especially before getting league, because somehow Pittsburgh was always like the first, second game in league play. Talk about the challenge and like just finding the right teams, finding the right non-conference teams, and what that's like. I guess just to give the listeners a little bit of insight.
I think it all depends on the type of team you have, right? You look at your strengths and your weaknesses, and then you also look at like, okay, we got 4 or 5 games that we need to be able to build their confidence, right? Not saying that you go out and pick the easiest kids that you get,
right?
But you got to be able to, hey, week 1 we're gonna gradually grow, because I still believe that this league is still one of the hardest leagues,
right?
But everybody's saying, well, it's watered down. I said, well, I don't know, because right now it's just we're just trying to build, and so scheduling games is important, right? Because as you can see, like perfect example, Pitt. Look at Pitt's preseason schedule last year. You see how they went to St. John Bosco. I
mean, they were neck and neck in that game too.
Yes, but it goes back to Ramirez knew what kind of team he had.
Right.
So you got to be smart with, I'm not saying go find the easy, no, because every single coach, I feel like they approach it differently. For me, I know what the type of kids I have. I think we got a good group coming back. Matt and them did already the hard work last year where it was like, hey, look, but now we're going to take it, we're going to build, and we're going to try to make sure that our preseason schedule sets us up for success heading into, league play. Because I think we open with Liberty.
Really?
At home. I think so. I'm not sure, but
I feel like it's been that hasn't happened in a while. Where you guys open league with Liberty.
Yeah, so I got to double check, but I'm pretty sure I think we open up with Liberty at home.
So what you're saying is American is not going to be on a non-conference schedule.
I'm still looking for 2 games.
For what it's worth,
I'm still looking for 2 games.
I got a friend of mine that coaches there, so it's like me giving a shout out, but I have to give a little bit of slack because we're both Logan teammates.
It's all good. It's all good.
And he's been trying to get me over there for like the last year and a half, and I was like, bro, like I stopped going to Logan because of the gas. Gas has not gone down.
Oof.
Like, come on now.
Oof.
Come on now. I gotta go to Fremont now.
Yeah, that's a drive.
Every day.
Oof.
Every day, fill the gas tank twice a week.
What kind of car you got?
Then I had a Jeep Compass, which is good because now I have a BMW X3. So
okay,
it's not.
Oh, you okay?
It's not. Listen, man.
Hey, look.
I'm blessed.
That's why he's here in Brentwood.
That's why. We'll go with that. We will go with that.
That's here in Brentwood.
You know what? That's. We'll go with that.
We'll keep it moving. We'll keep it moving. We will keep it
That's
moving.
why I'm here in Brentwood.
We will keep it moving.
It's okay, though. No, that's why I'm here in Brentwood. Next day, it's been fun being in Brentwood. What does you mentioned? I think early in the pod you mentioned what this season means for you guys. What you guys are trying to do this year. What does a successful season look like for Deer Valley this year? Considering how last year was, it looked like a promising start, kind of fell apart the last pretty much 2 months of the season. Numbers seem to be a little bit better now with you coming in. Just talk about what a success looks like for you guys this year. Is it state?
The classroom.
No. Okay.
The classroom.
Mm-hmm.
Just having to understand the challenges of Deer Valley.
Right.
The field is the easy part.
Mm.
It's the on-campus the behavior issues, the nonchalantness of being tardy, being out of class, and things like that. The more quiet the emails, me being CC'd on emails, the
better.
You know, because that the football thing is the easy part. Like they're going to be engaged in that. I need them to be able to show me that they are engaged the same way with school. You know, like I told them that, you know, our first meeting, I said, I don't want a 2.0.
Right.
You know, I said, shoot for something higher. Let's go 2.5.
Right.
Right. And I think some of the times that, you know, when we get the opportunity to be able to bring schools on campus, that's my way of telling them, if you want that, you got to go to class.
Right.
And you got to perform in class. And then you got to go be at practice.
Right.
And then you got to perform on Friday nights.
Right.
Like, you don't just get these schools
right
because of relationship with coaches.
Right.
No. Because in order for these coaches to sign off on you, they're going to ask, how's his character?
Right.
How's his grades?
I feel like that's the part that a lot of kids, initially at least, they don't seem to understand. Because I think, and this is where I think the social media era kind of hurts them in the sense where they see all the successes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And especially nowadays where it seems like, I think it was 2 years ago when my first year here, it seemed like everyone was getting offered. And I'm sitting here like, that's a lot of kids getting offered. Like, it was like every day, like, oh, grateful for offer from this school, grateful for offer from that school, blessed to have an offer from this school. And I feel like the one thing a lot of kids don't realize is, yeah, you know, you can be better on the field, show film, and get to know these coaches, but, like, if your character sucks, if your grades suck, like, they're not going to waste your time. And also, like, offers, the one thing I've kind of learned over time, like, offers aren't, I won't say not guaranteed, because, like, oh, we're offered, like, we're interested, but, like...
You got to keep it.
Right. You know, they can always pull it back.
Yes.
You know, you can go there and they can kind of let you go. Like, there are different things that can happen throughout. Right.
It's pretty much being left on red.
Right. Is that a conversation, I think, with you coming in and you having this experience a lot, even more so now in the social media era, like, you kind of, you know, day one in camp or day one in spring ball, whatever, you kind of have that discussion with them, like, you guys can get offered, but, like, it can get taken back immediately. Stuff
We
like
already had those.
You did? Okay.
We already had those conversations, especially with Jay and anybody else that's seeking those opportunities.
Because Jay has, what was it? It's Nevada and Idaho, right?
And University of Nevada and Idaho.
Okay.
And so, you know, it's just, you just have to give them the game. You know, these offers, all they means is opportunities.
Right.
But you got to still be able to live up to that.
Right.
And you got to be able to perform to keep that. You know, and you can't get mad if you don't perform, because this is the nature of the beast. You know, you got to be able to perform in order for you to get paid. Right.
I think, was it Dion once said, you know, if you play good, they pay good. You pay good, you eat good, live good, so like that. But he has a point. But I think when it comes to high school level, it's like, oh, if you play good, cool. But, like, you also have to, like, just be good, and that's not just on the field; it's off just as well, right?
Yep.
You know, it's interesting. Like, being back here is my first time really covering high school and more in a full-time sense, and kind of seeing, I guess, the grassroots of what it looks like. You know, because in the pros it's contracts and players get released and waived, whatever. And in college it's kind of like, you know, the 1 year I covered Cal, it was interesting because, like, it's a weird balance, and I think it's even different now with NIL being a thing.
Yeah.
And the way, and then the transfer portal, because I just feel like. And now it's the junior college rule, which is like, oh, your 2 years don't go against your 4-year clock.
Yeah.
Which is.
Well, that's because
I can't wait for the 37-year-old, you know, college senior. Georgia's longtime veteran quarterback. You know, let me ask you this: with all that said, your thoughts on the state of the game now? In 2025, because it feels so. Like, I always used to tell my kids, my players, you know, it's a business. And I had freshman and sophomore, so day one I'm like, this is a business from this point on out, right?
Yeah.
This isn't Pop Warner. You're not signing up to play. Yeah, Logan was a no cut program. I had a little bit issues with that, but it was, you know, this is a business from this point out. Like,
yeah.
And I kind of told him, I tried to scare him a little bit. I'm like, listen, if you can't do it, I'll find someone that can.
Right.
Like, I'll go into the school. I'll just start recruiting.
Right.
I'll use I'll use Fogey's recruiting tactics because I heard so many stories about that. I'm like, that is so great. But he found some great ballers out of that too.
Yeah.
But I just feel like having to have those conversations with kids where like you have to take this, you have to take, not treat it like a job. I don't want to say treat it like a job, but almost treat it like a job. I feel like the game is so different now. It's even more so now at the high school level compared to just 10 years ago.
Yeah. The game right now where it's at, I mean, change always has to happen.
Right.
Right. You have to evolve and you have to keep growing. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes back to one of the GOATs, Nick Saban. Right. Run the ball, play defense. Run the ball, play defense. That was it. Because we all know Nick didn't like throwing the ball.
Right.
But as time started to change, the offense has now started to go into the spread that we have now. And he changed. And now Nick is, when he's done with football, I mean, only linebackers and safeties and corners and D tackles and running backs and O-lines wanted to go to Bama.
Right.
Well, he changed that. Changed his whole, way of coaching and his approach of, okay, well, you know what, I got to grow with the times because if not, I'm going to get left behind.
Right.
So I think, when he walked away, he had Tua,
every receiver on the planet.
Man, I think Nigel's class when they were all freshmen, I think we talked about that freshman class was loaded.
Yep.
It was loaded.
Jerry Jeudy, Devontae Smith.
Yep.
They had guys.
They had guys.
They had guys.
And you seen it at that last championship game against Georgia. Brought in some of the freshmen. A freshman through to a freshman to win that game.
That's where they had that. Bama's the team that had that 17-year-old freshman, right? With Ryan Williams.
Just last year?
Yeah.
I think this year? Yep. Yeah.
But I ask that because, like, when obviously the players are going to see, the 17-year-old playing at a Division I level, right? When I asked about the state of the game, because you would not have seen that before.
Yeah.
I mean, and granted, like, not that we see that often anyways.
Right.
But in the age of, like, early enrollment, in the age of NIL, in the age of everything, I feel like the game is changed, not just even on the field, but, like, even more so off of it. Yeah. Just with everything that's
social media and everything else. It's just part of growth.
Right.
And you just have to find your niche as a coach or even as a player. Where do I fit in all this? And try not to lose yourself in it.
Well, let me ask you this. Where do you fit in all this now? Going to your first season. Like, you're very social media savvy. Obviously, we've seen it with your business, with Malu Fitness. We've seen it with Paula. How do you feel you fit into the game now going into your first first varsity season?
I think just having a presence in the community of Antioch and them knowing that I've been with the youth and just being in Antioch. Right. And social media will tell, social media is like a highlight. We kind of highlight, look at me. Right. But at the same time, the people, how you come off on social media, you also got to be that same person.
Right.
So I tell the kids all the time, don't be two different people. Don't be the guy on social media, and then when you meet the guy in person, that's not you.
Right.
I try to be the same person that I am on social media, the same person I am in person. So, sometimes it's also your wordplay, right? You got to read those things before you hit post. Right. Because sometimes if you reread it and like, that's not it.
Right.
Let me erase this because it ain't about me.
Right.
It's we.
Right.
So I think going into my first season, I think it's going to be packed because everything now is going to be tailored to BV. Right. And the Antioch community. Right. Come out and support. Come support. Come support. And I think first week, we're going to be loaded.
I'm excited for y'all.
I'm excited too. I think you're going to be in the stands too.
I have sideline passes, sir. In case you haven't heard who I am. It's been a while since I've been... I'm telling you, regardless of level, it's been a while since I've been in the stands in general. I was telling my wife about the sideline. I was telling my wife about that. Well, first of all, I got to do everything under the sun, so I have to be on the sideline. But I was telling my wife about this the other day because, like, we're planning a trip to go to Europe. And so I told her this is the first time I actually have to buy tickets to go to a game. I think we're trying to go to a Chelsea FC match,
Mm-hmm.
and because we'll be in London, so and I told her like this is the first time like I'm talking with the club and I'm like, hey, how we're flying over the first time, how do we go about this, because they do things different
Yeah.
over there, the way they do tickets and all that stuff's different. And then I kind of when I emailed the club, I was like come across. This is the first time I've had to buy tickets in like years, because I mean I've been credentialed. I've been very fortunate to be credentialed, right?
Yes.
So like when I go to Giants, I'm credentialed, right? Like we're in a press box, but like
Right.
batting practice, I'm on the field. I'm in the dugout and stuff like that. When I had the Raiders when they were in Oakland, that was pregame. I was on the sideline, stuff like that. I've kind of come to a point where like I like being on the sideline. Now, when I was playing, I was playing, but I like being on the sideline. I got used to it, just throughout my time, especially even more so through my time playing. And I think you get a different level of the emotion on the field, being next to everyone compared to being distant like that, right? I think from a writer standpoint, yeah, because I've talked with other writers, from the glorious East Bay times, and there was they're in the stands, they're kind of or distant or whatever, right, and they have a good view, but they also have their photographers. For me, like I got to do the story, I'm shooting it, doing video, all that kind of stuff. So I have to be on the sideline, but I got so used to it, and I told Juan, I was like, I don't mind being on the sideline. I don't mind seeing that story, being on the sideline, hearing everything, watching the coaches, kind of. You almost, in a weird way, you almost kind of a part of it without being a part of it.
Right.
When you're there, and I love it. Like I'd rather be right in the middle of the action. Like I'm not trying to watch. Like when I go, like for breaking news, when I have to go cover a car crash, I'm not trying to be like 50 feet away. I'm trying to see what happened.
I get it, man. But I'm different.
You like being
away from everybody.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
My old OC was like that.
I just like. And it's crazy because most people, they see me on the sideline, whether it be the youth, whether it be...
Right.
And it's cool because you have to be.
Right.
Right. But if it's up to me...
You'd be in the box.
Not even in the box.
Oh, just be in the stands.
Just in the stands away from people.
Really? Okay.
But
the stands have older people, Coach.
Yeah, but I find the little area where...
The one corner or whatever. Okay.
And sometimes I won't be... If it's home...
Mm-hmm.
And if there's no room there,
other side. Really? Okay. You might be the first coach I've seen that likes being away from it.
Well, I think you're in it for so long,
right?
Right, and you're around it for so long. Like sometimes you just want to just
be away.
Be away.
I get it. Interesting. Yeah, I got so used to this being because I've been impressed by some of the other writers. Like, oh, you're always on the sideline. I'm like, yes. Well, also I have to be, but. Yeah. And I'm just like, I like doing that. I just got so.
Yeah, but now I have no choice.
Well, I mean, I'm
right there in the sideline.
Technically speaking, listen, like I've had coaches who headset radios are a thing. You can be in the press box and you can be in the box and just kind of ideas.
Right. No, I mean, I like when I'm coaching. I don't know, even with the headset, right? Like. So engaged, right? It's just but
does it get to a point you start remoting in from home and just bring the drone?
Coaching on Zoom. You coaching on Zoom. You coaching on Zoom.
Coaching on Zoom, man. That's hey, with Tesla robots, that'll be a thing soon. So yeah, I'm gonna send a robot today. This is awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh,
this
thank
is
you
great.
for having
Appreciate
me.
it. I'm excited. When do you guys start spring ball? About when?
I think we're in May right now. I think I gotta look up. I'll have to double check. We just put the schedule together.
Okay.
Putting it out, but I'm looking forward to spring ball. I'm looking forward to just the work. I'm looking forward to, just the challenge, right? Because right now, I know who's who in the league, right? But at the same time, it's just we just gotta work. We just gotta work.
I'm excited for you guys. I feel I've told this to Juan. I've told this other coaches. I feel like. When DV finally kind of starts getting it back together, like you'll see the B-Val really shine. Like obviously Pittsburgh has its own for the last 5, 9, 8, almost the last decade feels like. Who knows? It could have been since the Dark Ages at this point.
Listen, even when they having their rebuilding year, you can't really say. Oh.
I feel like rebuilding and Pittsburgh don't go together. But I know. But I always say when. I've said this even when we do our summer tour, and we go to all the coaches, and I'm just kind of like, what do you got? No, they ask about what do you think about DV, because obviously I'm kind of close with the school and the program, and I tell them, I listen, like, I'm excited. I'm always excited for you guys. I'm waiting for you guys to kind of have that breakout year where everyone's like, oh snap, boy, DV's not like it's not the circle W on the calendar, so to say, for a lot of schools here.
Yeah.
You guys in Freedom, really, I'm really excited, because I feel like, especially with y'all, when you guys kind of start making some moves and start doing some things, everyone's gonna take notice, and I think it's gonna be great, because it's gonna put the BVL really right back on the map. Because I'm tired of hearing about the EBAL.
Hey.
I'll be honest with you, I'm tired. I'm like, listen, De La Salle won, cool. Pittsburgh won, cool. Clayton Valley Charter paid for their way, okay. But I mean, it's so cool seeing, because I know how it's been. I think when I started writing the feature on this, that's gonna be out next week, and I think when I did math, it was like 11 years since the last time DV had a winning record.
Say what?
It was like 11 years since DV had last had a winning record.
Say that one more time. I don't think my mic is what? What is it?
It was 11 years since the last time. Over about a decade, not give or take, right? And so I was like, dang. And I'm sitting here like, so a lot of people, a lot of these kids probably wouldn't even. A lot of these kids were like 5 when, DV last really, when DV was last the DV that everyone kind of.
I'm glad you said it, because
Oh man!
Listen, it just goes into something that I can help motivate our kids.
And if what, I'm not saying it to be offensive or anything.
No,
like that.
no,
it's just when I was doing research, right?
Like, it's the facts. It's but it's that underdog role,
right?
Right.
And I mean, I'm always a big fan of the underdog. Haven't been one, so like, yeah, I'm just excited for you guys, honestly, and I will stand by this. When DV finally gets back in the pack and everything, you can see the BVL really shine. Like, BVL football is really gonna be back, in my opinion. So I'm really excited for y'all.
I'm excited. I'm excited to know that, but at the same time, I'm excited about what's coming. I'm excited for this group.
But if you want to add anything to the motivation, the last time DV had a winning record, Obama was president. So.
Oh man!
Just put it out there.
Oh man!
Gas was like $3.50 a gallon. Nobody was watching vertical videos.
Nah, man. I'm excited. I'm excited. 11 years it's a long time.
Like 20 to 2014-15 season, I think.
Was that the Simba twins?
It might have been his year. Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta double check the roster.
Yeah.
But like on Max Preps, you can see previous seasons and it shows like all the records.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
I think.
This year, I think it's gonna be fun for us.
I'm excited for you guys. Even like, look, when Matt led that team to 4-6 in 23, I was like, okay, cool. Like, they made strides. Obviously, they're coming off the winless season.
Yeah.
So like, anything was better in that case. But for them to go 4-6 showed a lot of promise, and they were doing it all on the road.
Yes.
So I was so excited. Then you had the stadium being renovated and such. You look at how the home opener went against Mount Diablo, and like, okay, they lost, but they showed a lot.
Yeah.
Kind of regained support of the community.
Yeah.
Everything kind of fell apart as the season went on. Numbers, injuries, whatever. But like, it was interesting seeing just seeing the momentum that was built from 23 going to 24, and how everyone was kind of seeing DB like, okay, it's just a year. Like, they're kind of ready for it. So I'm excited.
I'm excited too. I think we're gonna be okay. I think we're gonna have fun. And I'm just excited for not only this group of kids, but also the incoming groups.
Just let them know the last time DB had a winning season, the PlayStation 4 just came out.
Yes, 4.
I'm telling you, that will be. You want to hit them hard?
You keep bringing up all. Listen, I want first 11 years, Obama and PS4. I'm gonna probably hear one on the way out.
Just show them black and white TV. And be like, this is how we watched everything. No. Show them the old brick phone. The picture of the old brick cell phones.
Listen, that old
It'll hit
school.
Them. It'll hit them. Trust me.
That old school. Oh Lord Jesus. Well,
I'm telling you, y'all start winning. You will just get the old the toy brick phones, and just get them to all your players. It'll be
so instead of celebrating with the belt on the turnover, we're just gonna be like, we're gonna call Jeff.
Can y'all hear me now?
We're gonna call Jeff.
Head coach for Deer Valley, Marcus Malu. Thank you so much for joining us, man. This was so fun.
Thank you for having me, bro.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the first video episode of Depressed Talk Sports Live. If you are listening on Spotify, thank you for keeping up with us on Spotify and keeping the audio live. We are presented by the Brentwood Press for as low as $20 a year. You too can keep up with everything happening in the East County, Brentwood, Oakley, sometimes Antioch, and Discovery Bay area.
Antioch.
I said what I said. Go to thepress.net for more. Go to thepress.net and click on subscribe for more. One of these days I will actually have a proper ad read for this. I promise. But it wouldn't be us if we had the proper ad read, you know? For head coach Marcus Malu, I am Jeff WeisingerFeaturing. Thank you so much. And as always, take care of one another. We'll catch y'all soon.
Wolverines.